How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And tonight, we got a good show for you, folks. I really wanted to start the show off tonight. I'm going to try this. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this, but Tucker Carlson is interviewing Rob Reiner, who I've slammed on Twitter many times. So we can watch it on live on the computer, which I'm going to put up here. And I really want to see this interview. And I think it's, listen, I know I'm pumping somebody else's show up, but I wish I was the one interviewing Rob Reiner, but I'm not. So we're going to try to see if we can watch this. And then we're going to have Michael Jack on to talk about this continuing picture that's growing from what I believe is a criminal organization or criminal syndicate that exists in the government. I don't think it's anybody's surprise that there's a syndicate of criminals in the government, but they're showing themselves. let's go to the warning order right now. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right, let's see if we can get this going here. Give me just a second here. Okay, good. He's already on there.
Perhaps this is, I agree with you, we are very divided, and maybe this is one of the reasons. A lot of this is deeply disingenuous. Anyone who looks at cyber warfare will tell you, any honest person will say, the Chinese military is the primary culprit in the United States, hacked into the White House not that long ago, into the computer system there, into almost every federal agency. Nobody said anything. You guys in Hollywood sell your movies in China. You bow to the imperatives of their propaganda and censorship office. You change your movies to suit them. And yet no one says we're at war with China. And I wonder why. So you're sucking up to this regime that has actually broken in and stolen industrial and military secrets that hurt this country. You say nothing until Hillary Clinton loses, and all of a sudden we're at war with Russia. Can you see why some of us are saying, well, wait a second, Rob Reiner, where were you with China? Why are you selling your movies over there? Fair question?
I'm not giving China a free pass here.
Well, of course you are.
Well,
I mean, you guys in Hollywood sell your movies there, and you allow their censorship office to change your movies in order to make money.
Yeah,
so
well, I don't personally do that because I don't.
Come on, everybody who sells a movie in China does that. You know that. I mean, let's stop. You know what I mean? Kind of BSing a little bit. I mean, that's real, right?
Yeah, but you know, here's the difference. The difference, Tucker, is that you know the Chinese have done some stuff. We've done stuff. We've done stuff way worse too. And every side
so you
does
can't really
it.
judge, but we're going to judge Russia because why? Okay, but
exactly what he just said is exactly what you said about election stuff. Everybody does it.
You know, we know about Stuxnet. We know the capacity for cyber warfare. It's not just about hacking into computers and stealing information. It's about using that information and weaponizing it in some way. Now, you can weaponize it in propaganda, which it has been done in this way, or it can be actually weaponized in a physical way to disrupt power plants, water supplies, and so on.
Right.
Where does he get his expertise, this weirdo?
Like I say, Stuxnet, we did that in Iran. This is not a surprise. The point is,
he gets it from the news.
Now at this point where we have to understand the capacity here so that we can put in place the kinds of measures we need
very quickly
to defend ourselves and protect ourselves.
You didn't. I agree with everything you just said. I let you explain.
I love that you agreed with that.
You didn't answer my question, which is...
What was the question?
The question is, if China is a bigger violator in the United States than Russia, and I think everyone agrees that it is, why are they not in your movie?
Well, but China has not insinuated themselves directly into our democratic process, into our election.
Are you being serious? Of course they have. I mean, they've stolen information directly from the U.S. government, from our political figures, from the Pentagon, from CIA, from the White House. If they're not in our political system, then I don't understand what the definition is.
I didn't say that they weren't in the political system. Of course they are. What I'm saying is they didn't utilize that material to try to affect an election in some way.
I get it. Okay, so you can see why maybe some of us are a little bit skeptical. Maybe you're not selling as many.
This guy is such an idiot, man.
As you are in China. Anyway, whatever. Good luck with David Frum and Max Boot. Good to see you, Rob. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's all we're going to get, folks. And
Well, Krumholtz writes at The Federalist and has covered this subject.
So, unfortunately, that's all we're going to get of it. I thought I would get more of it, but listen, once a meathead, always a meathead. I don't know the guy personally, and I really, quite to be honest with you, I don't care to know the guy personally. What he says and what he does, that is just absolutely ridiculous and stupid. So, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let me just go ahead and start off with Michael Jack and from the FBI, let me see. Let me ask him if he wants to be on Skype. This is real time. Right here. This is real time, live, me texting to see if he wants to. Look, I snagged one of these from the Hannity show today. Boom, chakalaka, ba-bam. I guess that's Hannity's signature. So I'm not going to be throwing it anywhere because I've got no room to throw it anywhere in here. So listen, while I'm waiting to find out from Michael Jack, if you have not shared this show, if you haven't retweeted it, if you're on Twitter, make sure that you do that right now. Let's get these numbers up because they're kind of low for a Thursday night. Maybe it's because this interview that was just on with Tucker Carlson, but we need to get the numbers up here. Okay, so let me call Michael Jack. We're not going to do a Skype tonight. We're going to do a call. And I'm going to talk about these a little bit later and tell you how you can get them tomorrow. We're still working on the design. If I can get this plugged in here. You may have seen this when I came on the show. These are awesome. And I'll talk about more about where we're going to be able to get these and how you can order them. Hear that? These things are made out of metal. And they're for any truck drivers that watch this show. I am your father, Luke. Now there's Michael Jack. He's interrupting my commercial. I thought you said I'd call you.
Well, and I was watching you playing with that football, and I wasn't sure you got it. So I just thought I'd call you.
Yes. So hold on. Let me finish.
You better not throw that football in there. It'll come back and hit you in the head.
Oh, it's a Nerf. Okay, so let me finish real quick with these. Okay, so these are one of our viewers' sons makes these, and they're made out of metal. I think it's aluminum, and man, they're awesome. And then also along with that, so if you're a truck driver, you're definitely going to want one of these. Or if you're a gym rat, also you'll notice that I'm drinking coffee out of this. Look at this. Boom, constitutional quick reaction force, and we're gonna have, and this is also metal. So we're gonna work out some pricing, some designs to make sure that you can see all this stuff, and then we're gonna go from there, and then we'll get these up on the website so people can order this stuff. Along with, I got to get with David down in New Jersey about hats and shirts, and I think, look. I don't know if people really want to have my name on stuff. Maybe my signature, which is kind of cool. That's my signature. Right, you see it right behind me there. But definitely CQRF is going to be, I think, something that people are going to want to. They're going to want to have. I wonder if I could set that up there. Oh, that just looks weird. Okay, so Michael Jack. Let me see if I still have your picture up here. I don't know if I do. There it is. Okay, yeah. Let me, since you were on the phone, let me pull your picture up and make it bigger. I'll put it over my, I'll close off my commercial for my book for now, or I'll just move it. Whoop. Well, hold on a second here. Hold on. Real-time editing. That's what's great about this show. Okay, Michael, come on. Screen, work with me. What do you think, Michael Jack, former FBI special agent? Okay, I had this discussion earlier with somebody who's still on the job, okay? And I started going over some stuff with him, and I was joking with him because, when you're on the job, and people are going to be kind of surprised by this, but when you're on the job, there's a lot of stuff that you would actually miss from an investigative standpoint. I don't know if it's because you do the job on a daily basis and you deal with stuff and you just think for some reason it's just politics and you overlook the criminality of the things that are going on in politics. I don't know if, Michael, if you had the same experience I've had when I got out, a picture started to develop of basically organized criminal activities in Washington, D.C. that I knew had been there before, but I just never realized to the extent at which it was there. And when I look at now all this unmasking that happened right as the president was about to take office, President Trump, the fact that Valerie, not Valerie Palermo. She did another thing with a tweet today. Samantha Power, who was the ambassador to the UN, where she falls in the chain of custody for unmasking people and in the intelligence community, I have no idea how she's calling for unmaskings. And then the behavior of Susan Rice, the behavior of James Comey, the behavior of James Clapper, of Mike Rogers, and all these other people. Is it Mike Rogers, Admiral? I may be saying his name wrong. I've got a whole list of these people. But basically, as we look at this stuff, we're developing this incredible picture. Admiral Mike Rogers, from NSA, and then also the former director of what's called the GCHQ, Robert Hannigan, who's from Great Britain, who was involved with these people. We already have a picture of how they were doing this stuff, but when I look, Michael, closer at this no-knock warrant that happened not between the hours of 6 and 10, but it was a different earlier. I don't know if it was in the middle of the night or exactly when it happened, but it was a no-knock warrant where they picked the lock and then went into Manafort's bedroom and woke him up as if he could destroy computers and paperwork and thumb drives if they knocked on the door before they could get in. Because you could have a knock warrant, and if somebody refuses the answer, you can enter in the house if there's an imminent threat or if you believe they're in there in certain circumstances. So this is very fishy to me because I've never heard of this type of a no-knock warrant unless there was an imminent threat or a certain group of people that work for the Bureau were going to make entry and do some certain things in the location when they weren't there. But I've never heard of let's make a no-knock entry with pick the lock, go in, wake the person up, and intimidate them. That's a violation of constitutional rights, I would think.
Well, where the violation would come in that regard is whether somebody lied or not on the affidavit for the warrant. But once the warrant's issued by a judge, the entry itself is not illegal. If the warrant says, I'm not an attorney, but that's the way I understand it.
Well, so
right?
If you were an agent, just a regular agent, which I'm having my guess about this whole thing about who these agents are that are doing this, but you're given a no-knock warrant by a judge, and then when you walk in there, you say to your partner, I'm not sure if this is constitutionally right, regardless of whether or not a judge gave us this. Can't you be liable for that as well, that violation?
Well, not really, not necessarily liable, not in a legal sense, but there's the moral side of it too. When your boss or somebody's saying, okay, we're going to go do this, this, and this, and here's the warrant, and you're going to go kick the door. We're going to go in there, secure the evidence, secure the area, and let the guys come in and do the search, and the specialists come in and do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might say, well, you might question, well, why the heck did we do it this way?
Right.
Especially in what's basically a white collar thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it would. I don't know how the warrant was issued. I can't imagine.
It was a FISA, from what I understand.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, even if it's a FISA warrant, I can't. Where's the national security interest there?
Right. So
that would come to my mind. But getting back to what you said earlier, I can remember many times in the Bureau where you're focused on the case, you're focused on the investigation, you're focused on what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. You're not thinking about what's going on further up the food chain.
Right.
Unless you're trying to fight with somebody to get something done, to get your undercover operation approved or whatever it is, to try and do what you feel is necessary to make the case. But
mm-hmm.
You're worried about making the case. The politics, what you're talking about, where, the conspiracy stuff or whatever you want to call it, that's, what we used to call the seventh floor of headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mahogany Row. That's where the director's office is, and all the deputies and assistants and all those guys. They're all up there. And, we just didn't have a look at that. We didn't, we just, you salute and go do what you got to do. And the guys, getting back to what you said about that entry, the guys that made the entry, the agents that went in, they even up to the supervisor level or whatever, they're following orders.
Right. Right.
And they're doing what they got to do. Probably a lot of those guys, they made the entry. The lock guys and whatever, they went in, they made the entry, secured the place. Half of them went home. The guys who were left were the case agent and whoever has it and is taking care of Manafort and his wife, and those are responsible for the search.
So let me say this, and let me just throw this out here, because this is what when I was talking earlier to my person. And I know this sounds huge, but I'm going to throw this out there, and you tell me from an investigative standpoint, don't make a judgment call and say, no, there's no way this is possible, just from an investigator standpoint, okay? So you have a president who set himself up, as they all do, with political appointees, right? These are not seasoned investigators. These are seasoned politicians, which means they are loyal to the person that put them in that office. Now, those people have deputy directors that are also politicians, even though they have spent a career inside the whatever agency that they work, and but they are politicians. That's the only way you really rise to that level. Quite to be quite honest. Now, those people.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say most of them. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, and there's some that may have not, but I would say on a whole, across the board with agencies. So you have a president, you have national security advisor, you have ambassador, you have CIA director, director of the NSA. You have all these different people. The director of the FBI. They have their political appointees that work under them. Now, they can once they get on board, they're going to know who they can trust and who they cannot. And over an 8-year period, these people slowly recruit people that are loyal to them. I can only imagine that that's the way it works, because a deputy director is not going to want to have people around them that they're not comfortable working around with. So, because that's not good for their career. Now, is this what happens all the time? Maybe, maybe not. But listen to me and tell me what you think about this. Over a period of time, they cushion themselves with all these loyal followers. They said that when Mueller started the Clinton investigation, he handpicked the people to investigate. I don't know of any low-level agents that were, street agents that have been in for 20 years that weren't supervisors, the good agents that just want to investigate. I didn't hear about any of those people on this task force, okay? And McCabe, who was whose wife was a recipient of a massive amount of money from the Democratic Party, close to $1 million, if not more, that wasn't told about on his financial disclosure. He was also put in charge of the Clinton investigation, so he handpicks people. Comey works with this in this whole environment. Susan Rice, the ambassador, all these people are working, and they're going not necessarily towards Clinton, they're going towards Trump, and they're unmasking him. They're going after Manafort. They're getting FISAs. So now I have to ask myself, is an AUSA that's involved with this potentially a Trump hater, a Republican hater, because the DOJ is massively leftist? And then is there a FISA judge that is also a leftist? Because what I'm starting to see here is when we look at the Russian investigation, we're not looking at something that could just happen. Boom, boom, boom. We need evidence. Let's have a source talk to somebody, which I think it still is. The Russians have a source that worked for the DNC. That's been my take all along. But you're not going to have anything that's going to be this streamlined. Bing, bang, boom, Hillary's innocent. Bing, bang, boom, Manafort needs to be looked at. Bing, bang, boom, the president that just got elected and is about to take office, let's unmask everybody. And let's get FISAs. And let's do nothing is going to work that rapidly unless you have major evidence, or there is a group of people in the government that are working together and performing criminal activity.
Well, that was a long intro.
well, I'm laying the case out for you from an investigative standpoint. Can you see this picture?
The thing is there's a lot there. Going back to, is there a conspiracy? Yeah, is it? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think it happens all over the place all the time. People are always trying to put people in there with them that they can trust. Where it breaks down, where it goes bad, is that the people that are part of this conspiracy, they're not patriots. They're not loyal to the government.
Right.
They're not loyal they're not loyal to the country. They're not loyal to the people. They're loyal to themselves. Mm-hmm. They're loyal to having a type of government that's far different than what the Constitution has laid out for us. What happened at the end of after Trump was elected, that was just panic. That's like call up the army, call in everybody.
But it seems illegal to me.
You got to do that, huh?
It seems illegal to me.
Well, that's for a lawyer to say. It depends on. I think it's immoral. It's basically immoral. There's probably some illegalities in there, somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll be that hard to find if people will actually dig into it. Get off this Russia crap and take a look at what really is going on.
Well, if we look, and here's what I'm trying to drive you towards here. If we look at, I'm trying to drive you towards making a decision whether or not this could be a organized criminal enterprise. Because if we look at the possibility, and is the possibility there from an investigative standpoint, again, I'm not looking at this from a conservative. I'm looking at this from a citizen that has an investigative background that is seeing something with our government that is scaring me to death, okay? So from an investigative standpoint, is there evidence to show the potential of a organized criminal enterprise within the upper echelons of the government that fall to the left and that colluded on numerous occasions to unmask individuals that should not have been unmasked, to leak information, to make sure that information pertaining to Hillary Clinton and equipment that was destroyed was never charged. People weren't charged with destroying government property or having servers outside of their office or doing any of this stuff. Could this same criminal enterprise include, potentially, from what we see by evidence, a judge that's corrupt, a U.S. attorney that's corrupt, high-level agents that are corrupt, national security advisor, CIA director? Is there a picture, or is it just me? Do you see this picture?
No, I can see it, but where my questions come up is to what end? It's an ideological end? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The goal is to ideologically, what did Obama always say, to fundamentally transform America? Well, what they wanted to do is fundamentally transform America into a socialist state.
Right. Okay?
That's been their goal for 140 years. And like I said before, it's a process for them, not an event. Is the ultimate goal to make lots of money, to steal money from the government, and or to steal, what criminal, like the mob would do,
right,
to extort and all that kind of stuff for personal gain or gain, monetarily or something like that? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Would there be, people in all the different areas where you would need to have people to accomplish something like this that are going to be ideological sympathizers to what you want to do? Oh, hell yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's judges or people you've appointed to the CIA or any other organization. You're going to put people there that think the same way you do just for this purpose. And they're going along with it one way or another. Either they're going along with it because they're ideologues, or they're going along with it because they have something on them.
Right.
Now, or for their career or whatever.
Now, if these people were directly working together, and here's how a RICO statute works. Again, I'm no attorney, but if I'm remembering correctly, 2 or more crimes for the furtherance of the criminal organization. If that exists, then they can be considered a criminal enterprise. They could be charged under a criminal RICO statute, which is huge. So if there
are certain crimes that are also listed in
right.
the RICO statute,
right? Which
and you got to show that those crimes are what was committed by these people,
right?
And I'm not sure national security. Well, you might be able to get national security stuff in there, but most of it's all geared towards, like embezzlement or whatever.
Exactly. So when we look at, we know without having, we have probable cause to believe. We don't have proof beyond a reasonable doubt because evidence continues to be destroyed and people die when it comes to the Clintons. But we can surmise that the Clinton organization, their whole what was it called, the Clinton Foundation, and what was the other part of the Clinton Foundation called? I'm drawing a blank here, but anyway, the Clintons were huge on pay for play. They were allowed to do that while she was in the State Department. I'm sure that Obama knew about it because Obama's on the same trail now. And I bet that's what ticks off Hillary 3 ways to Sunday is the fact that he's still on that trail. Now, maybe they're all a part of this whole thing together. I don't know. But Hillary and Bill and their whole organization, while she was in office, they were definitely making money. So I can, again, I don't have proof beyond a reasonable doubt in this stuff, but I can say that if she had been president, there would have been massive payoffs. It would have gotten even bigger, and all these people that we're talking about would have been a part of the process of gaining from this power and money. So not national security. We're talking about like, let's say McCabe's wife, who was a Democratic.
You're talking about extortion.
Extortion. We're talking about using your office, your official position for a financial gain. And you're talking about a group of people that are doing this together, which creates a criminal enterprise.
That's the part, and that's where if I were the director of the FBI or I were in charge of this or this, going after cleaning this mess up, that's where I would go first.
Right. Because
that's probably going to be the easiest part to prove, because they don't have access to all the different documents, all the different things that are out there. There's, transfers of funds. There's all kinds of other things that could be found and brought into play as evidence that, the Clintons or anybody else can't get their hands on to destroy.
Right.
The other side, of what you're talking about, the ideological side, which I think is where, most of Obama's is at. I think he's trying to make money too, but I think he's more into, seeing himself be like the old members of the Politburo were during the Soviet days, where he's going to spend the rest of his life in power and wealth.
Well, that's the thing. You don't get power without the wealth, and I think these people have a dual mindset that's going forward on being powerful and being wealthy. That's just, kings and queens, that's just the way that they think. You don't see Queen Elizabeth living in poverty.
No.
With power comes money.
No, or you use your power to acquire the money.
Right. Right.
If you're depending on what kind of power you have. But,
right.
The point I'm making is you got two sides to this, and it's not an exact line of demarcation. It's blurry.
Mm-hmm.
You have people that actually believe in the ideology, the socialist ideology, but the way they're looking at it is like the old Soviet socialist ideology, where you have a very wealthy, well-off, ruling class, basically, that runs everything. And then, and then the other side of this is, what are they doing to raise this money, the pay for play, all the other things that they do. We have no idea how many people that were appointed to different jobs had to pay for those jobs.
Right. Right. And so here's, let's see, Moki Bowl, Carl on Twitter, which, by the way, our Twitter numbers are far out exceeding our Facebook numbers tonight. So I don't know what to thank you, Twitter. But Carl just wrote a second ago. He says, they all got each other's backs. One goes down, the domino begins to fall. I'm not so sure if that's going to be the case. These people, Michael, have you ever seen, in all your years of investigating, have you ever seen an enterprise that is above the law like this?
Not that lasted for they went on for a while, but usually somewhere along the line they would fall, they would come down.
Right.
But it may take a while to get there.
But they didn't own the law like these. This is the government.
So this is people that are using. It's like I said yesterday in my tweet or my message to you. They're using the system. They're using the government for their own personal gain.
Right.
So. Yeah, it's government, but it's not government. It's the people in the government that are doing this. That got themselves in these positions of power.
Now let me shift real quick. Not really shift too far, but we just saw a second ago Rob Reiner, who the heck is this thing doing? It keeps putting everything up there. Rob Reiner was on Fox News just a second ago, and he is saying, I'm going to pull it up real quick here. He is trying to start some kind of investigation. I don't know who Rob Reiner is to start any type of investigation, but let's see here. Where did it go here? I don't like this new Fox News website, by the way. If anybody from Fox News is listening, I'm not trying to hammer you for this, but this is a horrible website. It used to be so easy to navigate, and now it's just destroyed. See, it's like gone now. Rob Reiner is trying to start some type of investigation against Trump and this whole stupid website. Sorry, I get a little angry. I get angry at stuff.
I saw that last part of the interview where he was talking about, the Russians the difference between the Russians and the Chinese.
Yeah.
And the thing is he's off base. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Every single government in the world has, even our friends have actively tried to influence our investigations, or not our investigations, but our politics for 100 years. It goes on all the time. Every single election, they're involved somehow. The Russians were the KGB was deeply involved in all the riots and peace movement and all that kind of stuff that happened in the 60s.
Right.
So, and even our friends have been involved in one way or another, whether it's the Brits, the French, the Israelis, that's just the way of the world. Is you're going to try and get system, we're the biggest and the baddest on the block, and if they can have some sort of influence to have things go their way, they're going to do it.
So he's saying actor Rob Reiner launches committee to investigate Russia. What committee?
To investigate what?
Russia.
Okay, well, yeah. How are they going to do that? I mean, you're going to go over there and sit down with Putin and say, okay, tell me the truth now,
So he says, to understand the gravity of Russia's invasion, they're calling it, our invasion of our democracy, today we launch committee to investigate Russia, Reiner wrote on Twitter Tuesday morning, linking the organization's website. The committee's advisory board. Listen, you got to hear this. This is okay. After all this stuff that we just talked about, right? All this whole picture that I just laid out for you about the reality of who probably is involved with this, with Clapper being a liar, Susan Rice being a liar, Obama being part of this stuff with the Clintons and the deputy directors and all these agencies, and potentially an assistant U.S. attorney or a U.S. attorney, and potentially a FISA judge being a part of this whole criminal enterprise. I'm reading this right now, and it says the committee's advisory board members include James Clapper, the former director of National Intelligence Committee, Max Boot, I don't know who that is, fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, Norman Ornstein, resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, and political commentator Charlie Sykes.
Oh boy, there's a good crowd.
Yeah, they're going to get right in there, that advisory board. Who are they advising?
You know what they're doing? They're raising money.
Yeah.
They're looking for a way to raise money. And they'll go out there and they'll send stuff out, emails and everything else out to people, say, you gotta help fund us. You gotta help fund us. It's like the Clinton Foundation all over again.
Right.
It's just a way to raise money. And that money will not get spent on anything worthwhile.
I literally think this is the thing that they're doing. They're going from person to person, thing to thing, and they are raising. This is how they are raising money. I think that's the way that they figured out a way. They raise a ruckus about this stuff. They get people all uppity up about this whole thing, and then they get money to come in. Just like this guy saw on Twitter, this guy is going to start some kind of he's trying to do some kind of a movie. Eleanor was tweeting on this, some kind of a movie about Trump and everything he touches is destroyed or something like that. You know that's never going to work, but he just does that to make money.
And that's all this is.
Yeah.
I mean, what's Rob Reiner doing now?
Yeah, well, I could come up with a couple
look
things.
Look at all these guys. They use their names to try and bring some bona fides to this thing. They'll sit down at some point in time and they'll start, writing some white papers, and we believe this and we believe that, and they'll footnote it with a bunch of crap that came off the internet or places that don't have any credibility, and make it sound like it's the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and they'll sell it. And then unfortunately there are so many sheeple out there that are just hang on this stuff every day and every word, and they'll buy it. They'll spend $20 to get this thing, or $100 or $500 or whatever they sell it for. And all these guys that are on this committee, they get rich.
Yeah. All right.
And all you're getting is you get a download. So
let me just say this one more time. We got the most listeners or viewers I've ever seen on Twitter on this show. Over 200 right now. So just one more time. Okay. I'm a former FBI agent. Michael Jack, I never reached his level of pay or authority. He was in the FBI as well. So high up that I can't even hardly say the word GS-15.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. All that means is that I was certifiable and you weren't. So go ahead.
So I remember when I got GS-13, they're like, that's where the big money comes. And I remember, like, when I got my pay raise, I'm like, that was like,
what money?
It was like $10,000, but over a year, that's like $100, a couple $100 a month. It was like nothing. But anyway, so
hey, that meant you could go to Starbucks, man.
Maybe if I lived on an Indian reservation out in Nevada, that would have been a big deal. But living in New York, that was like now I can pay my credit cards off $100 faster. So okay, you're an FBI agent. I'm an FBI agent. Just so that people that are watching this can see that if you look at the totality of the circumstances of how the unmasking took a massive leap forward towards right when President Trump got elected, when you look at the way that the Paul Manafort investigation has been carried out with the no-knock warrant where they picked the lock and went in and got him, that's being reported. And by the way, when I told my friend that's still in right now, they said, there's no way that happened. And I'm like, well, it's being reported by every news agency. So either somebody's getting something completely wrong or it happened. So when you look at the totality of all these things, who the judge was that signed that FISA warrant, who the assistant U.S. or the U.S. attorney, which is the same guy that ran the Enron attorney who almost got disbarred for that because of his tactics there. He's in charge of this. So when you look at the totality of all these circumstances, there's enough evidence there to theorize that there could be a criminal enterprise of people that aren't just like, I'm liberal, I'm going to do this, and I don't like Trump, I'm going to do this, but literally are working together to not get Hillary Clinton charged with a crime when all the stuff that she did, to do these unmaskings and to go above and beyond the law and protect each other, it almost appears as though there is a group of people that are working together. You can call them the deep state. I call them a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, you can call them either one, but sure they are. These people have all known each other for years. They all get the same ideological background. They're all headed in the same direction. They want to get rich at the same time. So you got a crossover between ideology and just criminality. And yeah, is it there? Sure it is. Sure it is.
Yeah.
Does it happen in other parts of the world? Yeah, it does. I think I told somebody. I think I told you when I was in Puerto Rico, and when they would have a change in government down there, when they have a governor's election and a new governor would come in from another party, literally 80% of the people who worked in the government would lose their job, and the new people would come in would all be relatives and friends and everything of the new governor.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just a blatant example of what, basically took place over an 8-year period under the Obama administration.
Right. But you would think our Constitution would have protected us from this, but unfortunately,
it protects us from the criminal side of it, but it doesn't do a good job of protecting us from the ideology side.
Right.
Through the Bill of Rights, and that brings up something I remember you said like a week or so ago. You thought that these ideological, crazies out there, what they were doing is subversive activity that it should be illegal. And the first thing that came into my mind is just no, because it's easy for us to figure out who they are if they're out there screaming and yelling. It's the ones that don't do that I worry about.
Yeah.
So let them be crazy. We can get their pictures. We can find out all of, everything we need to know about them. It's the ones that, they're part of the sleeper cell or that are lone wolves and stuff. Those are the guys that are going to do the damage.
Yeah, but if I know snowflakes, like I think I know snowflakes, you throw a couple of them in jail for life for treason or for espionage or for trying to overthrow the government, and I can guarantee you that there's going to be a lot less of them that are going to be dancing their little dance like that weirdo that was the professor at John Jay College. Which I haven't even broached that whole subject completely, but anyway, hey, thank you, brother, and thank you again for all the service to the country as always, and for your investigative knowledge in this situation.
I don't know about all that, but I appreciate it. Okay, and thank you too for what you've done.
You got it, my friend. There'll be more.
All right.
Out.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jack, my good buddy, former FBI special agent. And why don't we do this? Let's go to the B block, and I'm going to continue my rant now about government gone wild. Really, that is what this is. I mean, they're not flashing their chest. These people are masking the law. That's what they're doing. It's government gone wild. So let's go to the B block, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about not just this whole Russia nonsense, but I'm going to talk about something that I talk about in my book a little bit, Sheep No More, and how the Trump administration really needs to learn from this. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to the B block. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right, so, man, we're almost at 300 on Twitter. Where's Facebook at tonight? Well, listen, whatever. We got what we had. This is great numbers on Twitter. I got to say something. Pat McNamara, he is a former Green Beret. He does a whole video. I don't think Pat would mind if I show this. And I love his take on this because I think it goes. I got to get in touch with Pat. I wish he would. I wish he would follow me on Twitter, Pat. Okay, here you go. So Pat McNamara does a thing about about range theatrics. I love this guy. I've never met him before. I mentioned him in my book because I think he's the real deal. His resume is crazy good, and he's former Delta Force operator and has done a tremendous amount of stuff. And so he's talking about range theatrics. Now, I'll show you how I'm going to relate this to what we're talking about here. But again, this is Pat McNamara, Panteo Productions. I'm going to make sure I give everybody recognition on this so they don't pull this off of when I do this. And let's see who else I should... Panteo.com Productions and Pat McNamara, former Special Forces in the Army. Let me go to full screen here and listen to what Pat has to say about range theatrics.
A recurring theme that I see on the range is trainingitis or theatrics, training through theatrics. An example of that is putting a shot on target and snatching the pistol right back and turning head from side to side. So the shooter will fire, snatch the pistol back, and turn his head from side to side. I'm not sure what he is doing. No, I get it. I understand the concept, but it's theater through institutional inbreeding. If we were truly scanning and assessing, that gun would go with us because it's dark and scary, our light's attached to our gun, and we need to see what's out there. Additionally, we shouldn't snatch that pistol back after a shot. After that shot, boom, the gun fires, cycles, chambers another round. We should be realigning the sights and resetting the trigger, getting ready for the next shot. Just because we're firing one doesn't mean we're not training for 2, for 6, for 9, for 15. For those guys who cannot resist the temptation, but to go boom and snatch the pistol back, what they need to add to their training is this right here. I quit! Just to help them remind themselves that they are training themselves to quit the gunfight. Remember, after that shot, if the drill calls for 1, you should have 2 sight pictures. If the drill calls for 5, you should have 6 sight pictures. Train like you fight.
Love it. I love that. And he's absolutely right there. Close all tabs. Thank you. So here's what I'm seeing when it comes to President Trump and the way that we are doing things when it comes to what we call diplomacy and warfighting both. Remember, the eagle that you see on the United States seal of the United States, the eagle has olive branches in one hand and arrows in the other, and its face is turned towards the olive branches. Now, it didn't used to be like that. The eagle's head used to be turned towards the arrows, but now what they have is the olive branch representing diplomacy and the arrows representing the force to back up the diplomacy. And what I see with the way that the president is doing things diplomatically, and I know why he's doing this, because I know that based on the president, I don't know President Trump, but based on my analysis of his personality and the way he's done things, is he's not necessarily going to project what he's going to do. Now, he made that promise and said he's not going to talk about how many troops he has in downrange and how many or how he's going to go about fighting and whether or not he's pulling troops out. He's not going to go into great detail about that stuff. But I think he's getting drawn into this a little bit by the generals, by the advisors, by the State Department, where it's somehow okay to say we are going to sanction North Korea. This is how we're going to do it. This is where we're going to do it. We're going to go after money here. We're going to stop this there. And what happens when that occurs? Well, it's no different than me saying do an investigation on a criminal when I'm in the FBI. And trust me, when we do an investigation on somebody, we know everything about them, and we pull up their financial records, and they have, let's say we're looking at somebody to see, we get a report or a complaint that this person's doing certain things, so we go through and we get this stuff from the bank, and we realize that they have a bunch of suspicious activity reports, that they definitely looks like that they're structuring so they can move money around. We're not going to go out and tell these people that we're going to monitor your bank accounts. I've told this story. I can't tell all the story, but I'll kind of allude to the story that I told before, where we had an individual that had gotten a drug shipment. We were monitoring a drug shipment, and because we were doing a case with the DEA and all these drugs, a lot of drugs were involved, we couldn't let the drugs sit there. So we went in and we did a surreptitious entry and took the drugs out of the warehouse and then monitored the phones to see what would happen when the person came back. And it worked great because the person flipped out and was talking about murdering people and going and calling all these people. So it just totally built our spider web of this case. But we didn't go tell the guy. We didn't announce it on television. We are now going to remove all the drugs from the warehouse and then monitor the phone and internet of this criminal, right? We didn't do that. The same organized crime syndicate, the same communist groups, the same, I can't think of a better word, but losers that run the Republican establishment up in Washington, D.C., many of them are just weirdos, not just Republican, Democrat. They got plenty of weirdos as well. We got our good friend
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Does anybody see my computer? Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Nice to meet you.
There's weirdos all over Washington, D.C. And I've lost my train of thought because I did Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But knowing that, okay, Trump is surrounded by these individuals. This is the way they do work. They project what they're doing. They lie about what they're doing. Since 1947, our DOD has been more and more politicized to the point where they won't even attack Kim Jong-un, and they'll send McMaster. McMaster will go on the Sunday morning shows and talk about how it's a real threat now, and we should speed up, and we should do all this. Why is McMaster going on TV shows and talk about anything? I was always taught, when I was in the government. Where's my spray that my friend got me here? When I was in the government, I was always taught, and I know there's veterans watching this, and police officers, we're always taught, stay away from the media, which is funny because I'm now in the media, but stay away from the media. Don't do anything with media. Get away from them. In fact, maybe I'll tell a story in a minute, but they're dangerous. They lie. They misprint stuff. They do all this stuff. They'll ruin you, right? Stay away from them. General McMaster, why are you talking to the media about anything? Your job is to sit your ass in the National Security Council and shut up and run it. But you can't even do that right. Not only are you a Muslim sympathizer, not only do you fire good people, Rich Higgins, good buddy of mine, other people that should, Gorka, other people like that, that should not have been fired, but they're a threat to you. They're a threat to the Chamber of Commerce, the Saudis, the EU, and and China, right? That's that's the ones that really run things up in Washington, D.C., the Chamber of Commerce. That's what they call it. McMaster's beholden to them. Mike Pence is beholden to them. Most of the people that work in the White House are beholden to them. So the president has to rein this nonsense in. the ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, is going out there running her mouth, talking about all the things they're going to do to North Korea. Look, folks, just like that criminal that we went in and got his drugs, and we're not going to go out and tell this criminal exactly who took his drugs and that we're monitoring his phone. We're not going to do that. Why? Because we have an investigation going, and we're trying to collect all the players in this spider web, and then we were going to take these people off the street and rid the street of these drug dealers, okay? Why would any of these people go out that are involved in the president's cabinet and consistently go on television and talk about what we're going to do to this guy? It should not be aired at all. And I've said this so many times. The White House press corps should not be in the White House. They should not be in the motorcade for the president. They shouldn't be on Air Force One. They shouldn't be in the State Department. They shouldn't be in the DOD. You and I are not allowed in those places. If tomorrow any of you that are watching this show started your own website and said, I'm now with the press, you can't just walk up there and say, I want to be in the White House for the press briefing. You can't, nor should you be. What I believe in transparency. Why doesn't the president just do this, what I'm doing here, and just get him a GoFundMe page, just like I got right here? For those of you that don't know, that never joined this show before, this show is completely funded by the GoFundMe page and then my own pocketbook. So feel free to give. If you donate $50, you're going to get a free copy, your signed copy of this book on and around December 12th when it comes out. So why doesn't the president just do this? Why doesn't the State Department just do this, what I'm doing here? Just put a camera up there, have a computer operator, board operator, and just do this and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. And they can even, just like the chats on here, on these different things. I got Twitter over here and Facebook and YouTube. I got to see how many people are on YouTube. So crazy, YouTube. Such a freaking censored piece of crap. If they did this and got rid of the press corps, we would get just as much information, and we wouldn't have to worry about those people airing information that doesn't need to be aired or their lies. And the biggest thing is, these people that work in the president's cabinet could then shut their mouths and do their jobs and not worry about going on all the shows and telling everybody what we're going to do, because I don't care if it's diplomacy or if it's dropping bombs. We don't need to be telling these people what we're going to do. You're not going to go down, you know... You just don't face a bad guy like this. You just don't. You're about to get robbed by somebody, and the guy pulls out a gun. You're not going to say, right now I'm going to offer you $20 and then try my hardest to punch you in the face. You're not going to do that. I am going to drop my wallet on the ground, and when you grab it, I'm going to punch you. You know, you're not going to tell people what you're doing. And I can't understand on the world stage, on the global stage, why we keep making these ignorant mistakes. With the only thing I can come to conclusion on is that our government, not talking about the agents and people that run it, the real workers, the support people. I'm talking about the political appointees, the deputy directors, the special agents in charge, the political appointees, and then the actual elected officials, all that belong to the two private companies called the Democratic and the Republican parties, two private companies. They don't know how to do things effectively. They just don't know. They're up there. Their egos are in the way. They think, because this is the biggest sin in Washington. I got elected by the people. I must know everything that there is to know about everything. And you don't. We just reached 300 on Twitter. Woo! So that's the biggest sin in Washington, D.C. And I've seen people that I know get elected and then go up there and act like asses because they think that they know everything. That's one of the biggest problems. This is the way it's always been done. That's a big sin. And this is what I feel, or this is what's going to get me reelected. These are abominable sins to this country. And it's why we don't get anything done effectively. There's this woman that we talked about today on the Sean Hannity radio show that's, I don't know the whole story. Her father was fought for South Korea with the United States against North Korea, was in a North Korean jail for years. Something about, in order to save her life, she's got to get stem cells and she's got to come over here. And South Korea and the United States aren't working together to get her a visa to get her. It's like something, I don't know, nonsense about what's going on. I don't know the details, but I don't have to know the details. Here's the point. We don't have an immigration system that says across the board, if you want to come to the United States, I don't care if you're from Great Britain, France, or Djibouti, you have to show us this, and this. Whatever those thises are. It could be you have to have your addresses for the past 10 years or for your entire life. You have to show that there's never been a criminal incident you're involved with. You have to give us your fingerprints. We have to do a retina scan. All your phone numbers you've ever had. We would need next of kin and their information, if they've ever been involved in a war crime, so on and so forth. This is a type of information. If you wanted to go work for the government, this is what you're going to have to give. I know I've filled out my SF-86 so many times. China's got it. You can ask them about it because they hacked the system that we have here with the whatever it is that handles our records. So they have all our stuff. But that's a whole nother story we got to talk about sometime. But that's what it takes for me to go to work for the government. So why, if they're doing that for national security reasons, to make sure that I'm trustworthy, that I'm not going to give up our national secrets, that I can be trusted with those secrets, right? So that's all the case. So why is it, if it's that important for national security for me to get a job with the government, why isn't it that important when somebody comes from overseas to be vetted properly with this standard level of questions? You don't have to ban anybody from an Islamic country. I'm not saying I didn't agree with that, but you don't have to ban them from there. Just have a series of questions. If they can't answer them, they don't come here. That's simple. It's that simple. And when it comes to refugees, keep them in the region. Listen, somebody wants to immigrate to this country, awesome. We were built on immigrants. I have ancestors that are immigrants. I was born here. I'm not an immigrant. I'm an American. Born and bred, free. But if somebody wants to immigrate here, then this is the process. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 100 or 1,000, whatever they got to do to get here, right? And they have to pass this background check. And I don't care if you're from Somalia or if you're from Australia. If you want to come here and immigrate here, that's what you got to do. As far as refugees go, refugees should also have to pass the background, but if it is a small group of refugees from a place where genocide is happening, okay, I kind of understand that. But what I would rather see is those people being kept in their region, or in the case of where they have an ideology like Islam, being kept in other Islamic countries that are our allies. Doesn't that make sense? Germany's rape rate has gone through the roof because of they're taking people from a culture and a region where that type of stuff just happens. Women, by and large, have less of a worth than a goat in many of these places. But they allow these people to go to Germany, that is a modernized country that has rules and regulations about how women are treated. Yet they just allow them to go over there and thinking that there's not going to be a problem. Anyway, the whole reason I'm getting on all this stuff is because we don't have effective thinkers in Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter if it has anything to do with not giving away secrets of how we're going to fight, not giving away secrets of how our diplomacy is going to work. If you're going to put sanctions on somebody, why you would tell anybody that? It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be telling anybody that, but they don't know how to do things effectively. You don't have war fighters in the DOD. You don't have war fighters and veterans in Congress. You don't have special agents running the FBI. You don't have people that were in the CIA typically running the CIA. Why? Because government is corrupt. Because government is full of sin. Like, I know everything. You elected me, I know everything. Government is full of that nonsense. And government does things the way they've always done it, and they don't change it. Even in the FBI. We got this new way we're going to do paperwork. Well, they don't get rid of the old way. They now make you do it 2 different ways. So we never wanted them to do something different. Numbers are dropping on Twitter. Dropped on Facebook. So guess what we're going to do, folks? I'm going to call it there, and I'll save the story for later about what happened to me when I was in SEAL training and why the media story is so important to me. Before I do that, I just want to bring this up again. I'm going to tell you about this either tomorrow or next week, and we got some designs, different designs for this that I'm going to put out there. This is metal, okay? It's listen to that. Yeah. Truckers will love this. Truckers, I am your father. They'll love this. Anybody else that's going camping or backpacking, or if you drink a lot of water and you work out, this is great. Coffee cups made out of metal. This is just the first design that they came up with. We're going to have different stuff here. Constitutional Quick Reaction Force. Remember, you don't have to sign up for that. Just be it. Support each other. Support the Constitution. Be a part of the Constitutional Quick Reaction Force. Hashtag CQRF. Now, don't forget the GoFundMe page, which you see scrolling across right there. If you haven't donated and you tune into this show regularly, get on it. We're still building. I'm still trying to decide when I'm going to go because of this whole book thing and the publicity. And I don't know if it's best to go out now or to wait towards when the book comes out so we can have books that I can sign. Or I may just do covers that you can insert into your book. I still haven't figured that out yet. But make sure you go to the GoFundMe page. $50 gets you a signed book. We're going to fix that logistics. So make sure you put your name on there because I'll be emailing everybody to get your addresses as well. Let's see what else. Tell everybody about that book. Tell everybody about this book because everything that I'm using as I'm developing this theory on what's going on in Washington, D.C., I'm using the tactics that are talked about in this book, okay? And as Michael Jack was talking about earlier about ideological organized groups, I talk about this in the book, okay? Serial killers, for instance, are very fascinating. We got briefs on this in the FBI Academy. Very fascinating group of people. And they do target packages on people. And people think they're so dangerous. Well, they are dangerous, but they kill a very small group of people typically. They're very focused on certain people to kill. Mass murderers typically go in. They also pick places out strategically or tactically. And they go in, they do a murder, and typically kill themselves. But by and large, ideologies and the ideological killer are responsible for, in the case of communism and fascism and neo-Nazism, they are responsible for hundreds of millions of murders. So ideological enemies are the most dangerous in this world. Satan himself is an ideological enemy to God, an ideological enemy to us. So remember that. Let's go to the truth zone and close this out. And I'm going to go work out here shortly. Don't tell anybody I showed you my bicep. Michael Jack said he ordered 3. That's the standard. 3. All right, let's do it. Wait, you know what? I got to stop that because I forgot. Again, I'm my own producer. So we got to do the Sheep No More trailer first, all right? Listen, I don't know if you guys saw the rant by, what is this knucklehead here? Hold on a second here. Where is this guy at? Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC. Did you guys see this rant where he's freaking out and going off and cursing at people? So I thought about that, and listen, I'm going to throw a fit here. Whoever this guy is in the production booth that just screwed that up, how many times we have to do this before you get it right? I can't handle this. Let's see. I'll try to act just like him. He's obviously got some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder. I don't know who this guy. Now I got something in my ear. This guy's screaming in my. Who is this screaming in my ear? Now see, the problem here is with this is that I'm yelling at myself because I do everything on this show. So anyway, that was my little tirade. Here we go. Let's go to the truth zone now. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. I'm always talking to myself. Take a sip out of this Constitutional Quick Reaction Force cup. Look at that. This is what happens when you drink coffee at 9 o'clock at night. I'm going to show you guys something here real quick. We talk about dedication and loyalty. We talk about service. We talk about undying devotion in this country. Almost a spotless record of hundreds or thousands of years of teamwork. There's just no greater example than this right here. Look at that. There's Rico. That's several years ago when he was into jogging or yogging. There's Jessie back when she was modeling. There they are. There he is, giving me that weird look. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, I love dogs. And it's interesting because dogs, they do something that human beings just can't do. They work in a pack, just like wolves. Whether we talk about wolves or we talk about dogs, they work in packs. They're unified. They have a structure. And they do things effectively for the right reasons. You're not going to see a dog that's a part of a pack that's going to go out and kill something and not tell the rest of the pack about it. It works with the pack. You're not going to see a dog or a wolf as they go out in the snow, go out on their own and do things their own way, because they get killed if they do that. They could die. They've learned through, whether it be evolution or just the instinct that God himself gave them, they have learned that the we is more powerful than the I. And they've also learned, these dogs, these canine warriors, that when there is a cancer within their pack, they get rid of them. That's why lions, when they come in and there's cubs and they come into their group, they kill the young. I'm not saying we kill the young in this country, but they do that to keep things pure in their, I forgot what it's called, it's not a pack of lions. But what am I trying to say here? Animals instinctually do things in their lives so that things turn out effectively, the most effective for their lives, for their survival, for the furtherance of their species. Human beings, not only do they not follow the instinctual desire that is built within us to procreate the species, they lie, they cheat, they steal, they collude with other criminal human beings to kill. human beings have the ability to be the greatest on earth, but by and large, they default to being the worst of any creature that has ever been created by God. I say that we use the knowledge that we have of what's happening in Washington, D.C. as an example of how we shouldn't be, and that we should unite and stand together. I'm Jonathan Gillum. Rico's down there. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived.
I'm Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I approve this message.
That's just gross.